All right, let's talk about hiring. Forever, hiring has felt more like an art than a science, right? It's all about gut feelings and scanning for keywords. But what if we could actually build a proper hiring engine? Today, we're going to map out what hiring looks like in 2025, where things like AI and reliability aren't just buzzwords, they're the absolute core of how you succeed.
So, let me ask you this straight up. Is your hiring process right now a real strategic advantage for your company, or is it just a frantic race to get a warm body in an empty seat? Seriously, think about it. Your answer to that question kind of sets the stage for everything else we're about to cover. To even begin to answer that, we first have to totally redefine what hiring even is. So, before we get into any of the cool new tools, let's just scrap the old dictionary definition and build a much stronger foundation from the ground up. Okay, now look at the language here. This is a huge shift. We're not talking about finding people, we're calling it a decision mechanism. That's powerful. It's a system, a process that takes what the business actually needs, turns it into real objective evidence, and then uses that evidence to make the best possible choice, optimizing for the things that really matter, like the quality of the hire, their long-term fit, and whether they're actually going to stick around. So how do you build this decision mechanism? Well, it really stands on these four legs. First, you need a structured selection process, so it's fair for everyone. Second, you have to gather multiple kinds of evidence. You can't just rely on a resume. Third, you need solid data governance, so you're being responsible. And maybe most importantly, you need constant human oversight to steer the whole ship. All right, now that we've got that solid framework in place, now we can talk about technology. And this is where AI comes in. But I want you to think of it not as a replacement for recruiters, but as an incredibly powerful co-pilot that helps them do their jobs better. And let's be super clear about the goal here. We are not trying to get rid of the humans in the process. The point of using AI is to supercharge what they're already doing. We're talking about getting things done faster, making the process more consistent, and you know what that leads to? A much, much better experience for every single person who applies. And here it is. This might be the single most important rule to remember when you're using any new tool, but especially AI. You can never, ever, ever rely on just one single piece of information. A score from a resume scanner, a transcript from a video interview. Those are just data points. They are not the whole story. So the key is to build your process around what we know actually works. This is what we call the healthiest approach, or the rule of three. You start with a real-world work sample, see if they can actually do the job. You follow that up with a structured interview where everyone is asked the same questions, so it's a level playing field. And then you verify everything with references. AI's job is simply to make this core process faster, smoother, and easier. And this all leads us to the one golden rule that you just can't break. AI is the assistant. It can do the tedious stuff, the screening, the scheduling, the summarizing. But the final call, the ultimate yes or no, that always has to belong to a human. That's totally non-negotiable if you want a system people can actually trust. Okay, so this AI copilot sounds pretty good, right? But how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood for just a second. I promise we won't get too lost in the weeds. We'll just focus on what this tech actually does for you. So at its core, the tech uses a few key tricks. You've got natural language processing, or NLP, which is basically how the AI reads and understands a resume or a cover letter. Then things called embeddings take the meaning of that text and use it to guess its skills and potential fit. From there, it can match and score candidates. Meanwhile, you have chatbots handling the early screening questions and scheduling interviews. But notice that last point. The best systems always have a human in the loop, making sure a person is there to make the really important calls. Now, whenever you talk about powerful new tech like this, people get nervous. And they should. There are real risks. So let's just tackle trust and safety head on. Because, let's be honest, a system that nobody trusts is a system that nobody is ever going to use. This table basically lays out a game plan for staying safe. You see, for every risk, there's a solution. You're worried about bias? Well, you have your basic compliance rules, but you back that up with annual audits to check the system. Worried about it being a black box? You have audit logs, and you give candidates the right to appeal a decision. Worried about privacy? You follow data protection laws, and you reinforce that with, you guessed it, human oversight. It's all about creating checks and balances. Okay, so we've redefined hiring, we've put AI in its proper place as our co-pilot, we've talked about the risks and how to manage them. So now, how do you actually do this? Let's make it real with a clear, step-by-step roadmap you could start thinking about today. Here it is, a 5-step plan. Step 1, and this is the most important. Structure your own process first. Get that rule of three foundation solid before you even look at a new tool. 2. Figure out what success even looks like. Define your key metrics. 3. Assemble a small set of tools. Don't try to boil the ocean. Start with just 2 or 3. 4. Run a short pilot program, maybe 30 or 60 days, to see what actually happens. And finally, step 5. Look at the data from your pilot, adjust, and then scale up responsibly. But please remember, the technology is only one piece of the puzzle. The real foundation is your people. This whole thing will fall apart without proper training for your team, without a clear ethics framework that everyone understands, and without those continuous audits to make sure the system is always accountable. And that kind of brings us full circle, back to our final question. For so long, hiring has been this mysterious, intuitive art form. But with the kind of framework and the tools we have access to today, we actually have the chance to turn it into a predictable, measurable science. So the real question for you is, are you ready to make that shift?